Yes. Om Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambam Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada Shiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Parampara. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Welcome. So we were at verse 23. So I will chant that. You can repeat. Or, yeah. Sattvabhasika chitvache vetara
Satvabhashika Chitva
vetara satyaya hi chichittaya hi ham.
Satyaya
Satyaya hi chittaya iham.
Chittayahiyam.
So this verse says, Sattva, the existence, Basika, that which illumines, Chit, awareness, Kava, where, Itara, another, Satya, in the form of existence, He, verily, Chit is awareness. So it says, where is another awareness to illumine the existence? Awareness is the form of existence I, and I existence is the form of awareness. So basically saying that existence and awareness, Sat and Chit, are not different, right? So to illumine the existence principle, there is nothing other than awareness which is required. When you say, I am, that statement itself declares existence. Everyone knows that I am. No one says, I am not. How do you know? How do you know that you are existing? Is there some sense organ required or some kind of verification required to tell you you are? You simply know because you are aware. So is existence, Sat, and consciousness, awareness, Chit, different, or are they one and the same? Ramana Maharishi is clarifying to us that they are one and the same. So the nature of consciousness is existence, and the nature of existence is consciousness. It refers to the same entity, Atma. Just like you might be a daughter from one angle, and you might be a mother from another angle, but it's referring to the same person. If you knock on the door and person inside says, "Who's there?" you will reply, "I am." You might add other things if they don't understand, but you'll just say, "I am," right? So this concept of and that I am is declaring your existence. So the five principles of consciousness we discussed before and we keep coming back to will be applicable for the existence principle as well. So Sat, the existence, is not a part, property, or product of the body, right? So Sat is an independent entity which is leading existence to the body. And third, the existence principle is not limited by the time or spatial boundaries of the body. So existence is, whether the body is existing or the body has no life left in it, existence always is. And the existence is not dependent on whether the body is in this room or it's in London or Antarctica or anywhere. Existence is not limited by any of these spatial boundaries either. And existence continues beyond the existence of the body, right? It's post the death of the body. And finally, existence principle, however, cannot be recognized without the reflecting medium of the body. So we talked about the example of the electricity before. So just because the light bulb is broken or the fan is broken, you won't assume the electricity is not there. The electricity being the principle can only be felt, can only be perceived through another medium, which is the body. And hence, so is with Atma, consciousness. So hence, you can never experience Atma. You may simply claim yourself as Atma and understand that this whole world, the existence of this whole world, is dependent on me alone. Now, all of us have questions about three things. We have questions about myself, which is all classified under Jiva. We have questions about the world around us, Jagat. And we have questions about Ishvara, the creator. So everyone might believe in a particular Lord, or they might at least believe that there is an intelligent creator behind this intelligent creation. And there is also a desire to know this God, not just know who I am. So otherwise, the inquiry is not sufficiently satisfied till we go into the inquiry of who is this creator. So Ramana Maharishi is now addressing that. Verse 24, Isha Jivayo
ईशजीवयो
Om
Vesha Dibida
वेशदीविताम्
Sattva
सत्त्वभाव
Satsvabhavato
Vastu Kevalam.
वस्तु
Vastu
केवलम्
Kevalam.
That says Isha Jiva, between the Lord and the individual, Veshadi, due to the reality given to the Vesha costume, Bida, the division, Sattva Bhasata, from the standpoint of the essential nature, which is existence, Vastu Kevalam, there is only one truth. So, due to the reality given to the costume, there is a notion of division between the Lord and the Jiva. But from the standpoint of the essential nature, which is Sat, the truth is only one. So this verse is telling us between the Jivatma and the Paramatma, there is a difference only of costume, of these clothes that we call the Upadi, the reflecting medium. So consciousness is all there is, but it is being reflected through various reflecting mediums. So just like mirrors in a playhouse, the same individual might stand in front of these different mirrors, and one mirror might make you look elongated, one might make you look fat, one might make you look distorted. So all these are distortions because of the reflecting mediums alone. Consciousness is only one, existence is only one. So now the individual jiva has the Veshti, the micro three bodies, and Paramatma, Ishvara, has the Samashti, the whole three bodies. So the jiva has the three bodies of the Sthula Shariram, the physical body, which is what we are looking at right now, the Sukshma Shariram, the subtle body, which has all the Pranamaya Kosha, the physiological functions, the Manomaya and the Vijnanamaya Kosha, the mind and the intellect, and so on, and also the Gyanindriyas and the Karmindriyas. Right? It also is the storehouse of karma, all your different karmas, which will, so your Sukshma Shariram will continue beyond this one birth. And there is the Karana Shariram, the causal body. So the individual has these three bodies, which we studied about in Tattvabodha. Similarly, this the entire existence, the creation that we see the whole thing is the body of Ishvara. And similar to the Sthula Shariram in a Jiva, all the physical manifestation is the physical body of Ishvara. And there is also a subtle body of Ishvara, which is all the unforeseen elements, the intelligence which runs this entire universe. So, this little karma that gave birth to this one lifetime, the entire law of karma itself, when should a mosquito get fed? Right? When it bites you, there is some punyam being exhausted for the mosquito and some papam being exhausted for the jiva who got bit. And if you happen to slap and catch the mosquito and it dies, then it's some papam which is getting exhausted for the mosquito, and some new papam maybe getting generated for you, depending on whether there was will involved or not. So, this whole big law of karma, which is being managed, uh, that is part of the subtle universe, and all these subtle elements we cannot see, how weathers change, how the tidal waves change, or the moon and the sun on all these cosmic bodies orbit without clashing into each other. All these natural laws which run the creation, that is all part of the subtle body of Ishvara. And similarly, there is a causal body of Ishvara. So this verse is talking about the Mahavakyam, Tattvamasi, and that you are that. It is that Aikyam verse talking about the oneness between this Jivatma and the Paramatma. Now, the Jivatma, who's identified with this body mind, ignorant of the fact that he's the all-pervading, powerful Atma, identifying with the distortions and the limitations of the body mind, thinks its real self is this. And because of this ignorance, there is samsara, there is suffering. And similarly, he projects other things on the Paramatma. This Paramatma does have a bigger, more sophisticated reflecting medium. And so the Jivatma is confused not only about its own reflection, but also the reflection of the Paramatma. This Lord seems to be omniscient, omnipotent, magnificently beautiful, full of love, whereas I have limited powers. I have limited knowledge, and hence I worship Ishvara. So, how do we understand this Mahavakyam? That which is telling us that the Jivatma, and the Paramatma are one and the same. How can this make sense? So, this verse is asking us to remove the costumes, so not look at the limit, these reflecting mediums, and look at the essence beyond it all. So, to understand that Mahavakyam, we shouldn't take the Vachyartham, we shouldn't take the literal meaning, because from the literal meaning point of view, of course, the Jivatma and the Paramatma are not one and the same. I will never have, even after gaining knowledge of myself and abiding, a Jivan Mukta, won't have omnipotent powers. He cannot control the laws of nature of the universe like Ishvara can. For sure, after deep yogic practices, certain siddhis can be evoked, which might give access to a fraction of some of these unlimited powers which are there, but that's not the aim. In fact, we are warned that that can be a distraction on the path. So becoming enlightened, becoming liberated doesn't mean becoming omnipotent. There will be always the limitations of the body mind. But the essence which is underneath, which is pure consciousness, that is one and the same, be it in the Jivatma or the Paramatma. So we have to drop the literal meaning and take the implied meaning. So what is Jivatma? Jivatma is consciousness reflected off the reflecting medium of the uh, Veshti three bodies. And Paramatma is consciousness reflected off the Samashti three bodies, right? So reflecting medium plus consciousness, reflecting medium, bigger reflecting medium plus consciousness. So in this equation, which is equal? It is consciousness alone. It's not the reflecting medium. So you remove the reflecting mediums, and then you will be able to equate the two. So it's in the essence, the consciousness in which Jivatma and Paramatma are the same. And this distortion is the basis of a lot of Dvaitan philosophies, the Dasoham philosophies, the master slave. And there is, of course, as a Vedantian, there is nothing wrong in dualistic prayer. In all this beginning of this text, Ramana Maharishi told us a lot about the power of prayer, the purifying power of prayer. So definitely continue to invoke Ishvara's grace. And as a Vedantian, also ask that may I see myself as you. Invoke that grace. Sudhir, you had a question.
Yeah. So it is not a sort of question, but
Yes.
I'm just trying to say that in case if we aspire for the omnipotent powers, obviously there are chances that unless we have understood fully, then it may lead to not only distraction but destruction also. Like Ravana, he had a lot of powers, but he misused the powers. Uh,
Yes, certainly.
am I right in thinking that? Yeah.
So yeah, the Shastras warn us that at some stage, I mean, someone we are in the Vedantic path, but someone who's on a yogic path, um, and through deep yogic practices, a lot of siddhis can be awakened. But that is the point which can become a challenge if you look at the wrong, you get distracted with those powers, right? So that is another ego which has built up. So the Ahamkara now has an additional new costume which has taken on, even fancier costume. So that also needs to be dropped. And even this text, we started with those karmakandis who were uh, in doing more and more tapas to gain more powers. And Lord Shiva came down to give this teaching, right? So that was the beginning of the story, if you were there then. The idea is karma, no limited karma can give you the infinite. And you're trying to recognize yourself as the infinite, limitless. So, and that can only be through knowledge. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
So, verse 25. Veshahanata swatmadarshanam
विषानता स्वास्थ्यदर्शनम्
ईशदर्शनम् स्वात्मरूपतः.
Ishadarshanam swasmarupatah.
स्वरूपतः
It says, by removal of these costumes, by proper inquiry, there is appreciation of one's own self. That self which is free from all limitations. And that is the vision of the Lord as one's own nature. So what does removing costume mean? It means seeing the self, seeing that original consciousness as real, as the only real thing, and the upadi, all these limiting adjuncts, these three bodies, as apparent, as transient. So previous verses talked about bhakti and prayer, and all these are encouraged, right? So any darshan, so this word darshan is often romanticized and used in different ways. For sure, in deep yogic states, one might get a darshan of their Ishta Devata. But for a Vedantian, when we're talking about the darshan of the Lord, Isha Darshanam, this has to be understood as Swatma Darshanam. This is a darshan of myself. So in Bhagavad Gita, when Arjuna got the darshan, the Vishwarupa darshan, Lord Krishna's darshan as the whole of creation itself, these many heads and many mouths and all these things, he got scared. Why did he get scared? And he asked Lord Krishna, can you go back to that pleasing human form of yours? Because when he saw that darshan, he didn't see himself in that vision. He saw himself as something separate than the vision that he was seeing. And hence there was fear. But if he had seen himself, then there wouldn't have been fear. So this notion of separateness arises when one gives reality to the costume. When one looks at the name and form and is not seeing the essence of the being. So if a reflection of the sun is being formed in a mirror, now once the reflection is formed, the mirror itself will become bright and luminous, and it has a capacity to reflect. It could illuminate a dark room, and the room is getting illuminated not with the original sunlight directly, but by the mirror, right? So similarly, so this gigantic universal mirror is the reflecting medium of Ishvara. So the same consciousness is pervading the three universes and the three bodies, and we get the reflected consciousness. So again, this verse is making the point that Jiva and Ishvara are identical. From the reflecting medium angle, they are different, yes. In fact, they're diametrically and diagonally opposite. And but from the standpoint of the original consciousness, Jiva and Ishvara are one and the same. The reflecting mediums are all mortal, they're all limited. It's only the original consciousness which is immortal and unlimited, infinite. And so the real meaning of Tattvamasi is not from the reflecting mediums or the reflected consciousness point of view. So when we say Jivatma is same as Paramatma, it is not from me, Spandana, I'm same as Lord Krishna, right? So it is the consciousness which pervades this body, is giving awareness to this body, giving existence to this body, is the same as the consciousness which is there in Lord Krishna. So all these attributes of I'm limited and Lord Krishna is unlimited, these all belong to the upadis. What I am is Nirguna Brahman, is Brahman without any attributes. So this verse is telling us first mentally drop all the upadis from the equation of this, of the Vyashti and the Samasti, from the micro and the macro. And once you remove the upadis, what will be left is consciousness alone. Yeah. So now the question may arise, because Ramana Maharishi talked about Swatma Darshanam. Now, what is this Swatma Darshanam? How will I experience myself? Many seekers are waiting for a point in time for this realization to occur of this darshanam of myself, the darshanam of Atma, Brahman. How will I experience Brahman and know I'm Brahman? That's a question many have. And Ramana Maharishi is addressing that in the next verse. So, Atma Samstitihi
Atma
Atma
Samskriti
samstitihi
Svatma
svatma
Darshanam
darshanam Svatma
Svatadarshanam
darshanam
Atma Nirdvaya, sorry, Atma Nirdvayad
Atma
Atma
nirdvayad
Atma Nishtita.
Atma nishtata.
So the verse is saying the vision of one's own self is the, sorry, the vision of one's own self is abiding in the self. Because of the non-duality of the self, there is natural, effortless abidance in the self. So another translation could be, to know the self is to be the self, for it is non-dual. In such knowledge, one abides as that. So this verse is clarifying that darshan simply means knowledge, self-knowledge. So in deep meditation, again, one might see many visions. They might get a darshan of Ishta Devata, visions of deities. They might see a bright light, this feeling of utter bliss. All that is Atma for sure, but so is everything you're seeing right now. So that boring old laptop sitting in front of you, the white wall in front of you, or that beautiful tree outside your window, all that, every time you open your eyes, in fact, every time you close your eyes and have any experience, all that is an experience of Brahman. Every experience is an experience of Brahman. And if you're waiting for some other kind of experience, then you're missing the whole point. You don't need to chase any particular experiences. So in Vedantic, Advaita Vedanta, Darshana simply indicates the final conclusive understanding. So Atma is always the witness. It is never the object. Hence, it can never be experienced. The Atma is always there. When the light is shown and the snake disappears, where is the rope? It's right there where you thought the snake was. And that's what abiding in one's own self means. It's not looking for anything external. It's only this removal of the ignorance of the wrong notions, the hamkara, which will reveal what was always there. So once all these wrong notions are removed, Atma, which is self-shining, will become evident. And so abiding in one's own self means understanding yourself as that Atma, that fullness, so that you're no longer looking for anything external to complete you or give you happiness. Understanding this, the knowledge of this, and constant remembrance of this knowledge is moksha. That's jnana nishta, that is abiding in the knowledge. When a student understands Vedanta, they actually stop looking for moksha. Why?
Because there
Because
is
it,
no need for
Yes.
moksha. He has achieved that state with the knowledge,
Has he achieved that state?
or he is in that state.
Was he not in that state before?
Yeah, because of the ignorance, he thought that he is not there in that state.
Right. So he always was Brahman. So what did all that study, what did all that pursuit give him? It didn't give him the new Brahman status. It simply made him realize what he already was. Um, and it removed that wrong notion that he had something to achieve. So that's why when a student truly understands Vedanta, they will stop looking for moksha because they realize that Brahman is the ever-present reality, and I always was Brahman. So, and what Ramana said here, abidance in the self is knowledge of the self. What does this mean? He'll explain further in the next verse. Verse 27. Jnanavarjita, sorry, Jnanavarjita,
Jnanavarjitam,
Jnanavarjita,
Jnanahini, Jnanahini Chitta,
Jnanahinichitta,
Jnanahina Chitta,
Jnanamastikim,
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 Jyatumantaram.
Jyatumantaram,
Jyatumantaram.
Jnanavarjita means free from knowledge of objects. Ajnanahina, free from ignorance. Chit, awareness. I. Jnanam, knowledge. Astikim is there. Jnatum, to be known. Antaram, anything else. So in short, awareness is knowledge. So that's the main essence of this verse. Awareness is knowledge, and free from knowledge of objects and free from ignorance of oneself and those objects. Is there anything else to be known? Another translation could be that is true knowledge transcends both knowledge and ignorance. Uh, for in pure knowledge, there is no object to be known. It's a bit cryptic verse. We'll break it down. So this verse is telling us knowledge is same as consciousness. What does that mean? Does this mean everyone who has consciousness has self-knowledge? Everyone knows I am, but there is also ignorance. So of course, it doesn't mean everyone has Atmagyanam. It's that awareness, consciousness, once associated with that Aham Brahmasmi thought, that I am Brahman, that unmistakable, undoubted knowledge of Aham Brahmasmi. When awareness becomes associated with that, that awareness associated with the Aham Brahmasmi thought, that's Atmagyanam. When we seek self-knowledge, there is an implication. The implication is, I think I'm ignorant. And the statement is necessary to be analyzed. Who is ignorant? I have knowledge of the fact that I'm ignorant. So I have awareness of the fact that I'm ignorant. So I have awareness. So I have knowledge of this laptop, this chair. What is common in all these knowledges? What is common in all this? It is the knowledge. So even ignorance requires knowledge, right? Because I'm aware of my ignorance. So in this verse, Ramana Maharishi is equating knowledge and awareness. Jnana Varjita means free from awareness of objects. So you are aware of this laptop. You are aware of me through my voice and the image coming through the screen. Now remove all the names and forms. So remove my form, remove the voice, and same for the laptop. Remove the name and the form of the laptop. What remains? That this is. It's simple awareness which remains. So it's in that sense which Jnanavarjita means, when it says free from awareness of objects, means remove all these names and forms. And then what will remain is only pure awareness. And the same awareness is devoid of ignorance and is devoid of knowledge. The awareness is beyond both, because it is both of these, knowledge and ignorance, require the mind. And the mind is anatma. So the last line says, is there any other way of knowing this atma? You cannot know it as an object, right? Because it's nothing external to you. It's non-dual. You can only know this as I am the atma. But it's just a simple knowing. It's not, you can't even say I am the atma, because then who is saying I am the atma? That I am you experience, that pure awareness, that awareness principle is what we're talking about. So we don't need any knowledge of I am conscious. Hence, there is no arrival of an experience of I am conscious. This verse is mainly telling us, don't wait for Atma Anubhava. Don't wait for an experience of Atma. Vedantic study is not to reveal Atma, it's just to remove association with all the upadis, to remove all the associations after I am. So, of course, a lot of these now, as you continue your Vedantic journey, you'll be exposed to more and more texts. All these concepts will be expanded further. For now, we're just giving an overview of all the ways this inquiry process takes place. Verse 28. Kim Swarupamiti
Kim Swarupamiti
Atmadarshane
Atmadarshane
Avyaya Bhava
Avyaya Bhava
Purnachit Sukham.
Purnachit Sukham.
So this says, Kim Swarupami. What is the essential nature of the self? Iti das. Atma Darshane. When the knowledge of the self takes place, I, Avyaya, free from destruction, Abhava, unborn, Apurna Chit Sukham, ever full consciousness, happiness. Having known one's nature, one abides as being with no beginning and no end, in unbroken consciousness and bliss. So far in this text, we saw Atma as the Satrupam, the existing principle. We saw it later as the Chitrupam, the consciousness principle. Now, this verse is adding the Ananda principle, so the Sat Chit Ananda of Atma. And it's telling us that there is no Ananda anywhere except from Atma, which is your own self. Now, if someone thinks I'm unhappy, they will try to get rid of that happiness, get rid of that unhappiness. But if someone feels happy, they're happy to stay there. They're okay to stay there. Why? Because it feels natural. When there is a injury to the body, right? You will try to fix that injury. But when the body is, like, say, if there is a headache, you'll try to get rid of the headache. But when you're headache free, no one sits and thinks, oh, great, I don't have any headache. You just are, because that's your natural state. Not having a headache is your natural state. Similarly, being happy is your natural state. No one ever thinks, let me try to get rid of some of my happiness. And it feels natural because it is your own self. That is why the pursuit of happiness, while misguided, is perfectly natural. Uh, and as humans, we're all intelligent beings, and no intelligent being does anything without a purpose. So look at any pursuits of human life, be it pursuing studies, getting a job, entering relationships, maintaining relationships, acquiring property, building a house, maintaining that house. Why are you doing any of these? To be secure. And what will security give you? It will allow you to be happy, right? Or you seek pleasure. What will pleasure give you? It will allow you to be happy. So, atta, kama, dharma, you do your duty as a daughter, as a wife, as a professional. Why are you doing your duty? Because it's the right thing to do. Why does it feel like the right thing to do? Because then I will be rewarded in the same way as I act on to others. Or maybe I'll gain some other, like a better life, or go to heaven. So you're all seeking happiness in whatever pursuits you do. The most intelligent seeker at least knows that this happiness, this unlimited happiness, is what I'm actually seeking. And that's just moksha. That's the name for moksha. So he cuts through all the faff of these various pursuits, marked as pursuit for wealth or pleasure or duty, which are all basically pursuits for happiness. And he claims what I am seeking is moksha. Why seek anything else? If happiness is what you want, then go directly to happiness. And Vanisha, you'd like to ask a question?
Spandana ji, being in the natural state, which is being happy and hence not craving anything else, what is the thin line of difference between raga, that craving happiness is also raga, I guess, and being in the natural state of happiness?
So when you think of um, moments, you're completely happy, right? Think of these pure moments of joy. In those moments, do you think of something else you want?
Just that I want to remain in this state.
Yeah. So that can be raga or that can be desha, right? So at least for a moment, when you, like, say you were working for something big for a very long time and you finally get it, in that moment, or you're seeing someone, a loved one you've missed after a very long time, just for a brief moment, there is that contentment, that happiness, and you don't want anything else. Then later on, it might come, okay, oh, I want them to stay longer, right? Or I want to remain this happy forever. So that we're talking about that moment of pure bliss, happiness. That's your natural state, minus before any raga, dvesha has time to come in. Um, and why is there raga and dvesha? Because you think it's something which can be lost, or that there's something which needs to be acquired.
Hmm.
That is not knowing yourself in your fullness. that is wanting something else external to bring you fullness. And that's what this verse is exactly telling us, that your whole life you're chasing Ananda, thinking it's something outside me. So say you say chocolate cake, eating a chocolate cake makes me happy. All right. Where is happiness in that chocolate cake? Is it in the flour? Is it in the eggs, the cacao, the milk? Which of these ingredients is happiness?
It's in my sense of taste.
In your sense of taste, okay. And if the happiness was in your sense of taste itself, will that continue to give you happiness? Will, say, this chocolate cake triggered that sense of taste? But so then maybe that's the answer. Keep eating another chocolate cake and another chocolate cake. Will it give you the same happiness?
I guess not after some point of time.
Right. So the happiness we can conclude was not in the cake, nor was it in the sense of taste. So what is happening when you're eating the chocolate cake? The explanation is, when you were eating that cake, that mind temporarily quietened down. These ragas and dveshas were temporarily satisfied, and at that calm, clear mind, your original Atma Ananda was able to reflect better. So, what you're experiencing is the Ananda which was always there. It was never dependent on anything external at all. Of course, that example we like to give often is that dog chewing on the dry bone. The dog finds a very dry bone and it chews it, chews it. At some point, the bone breaks. The shards cut the roof of the dog's mouth. It draws blood, and the dog, tasting bloods, gets very happy, and it chews even more, and more blood comes out, and it thinks that this bone is great. But what the dog is tasting and feeling happy about is its own blood. It was never something external, right? Similarly, and that will at some point, it will stop and it will start creating prey. It would have cut the mouth so much that thing which was this object it thought was pleasurable becomes painful. So this whole pursuit of Vedanta is understanding that Ananda is that is my essential nature. I am Ananda. And another translation of Ananda, the most accurate translation of Ananda actually, is not happiness or bliss, but it's fullness. When I know myself in fullness as everything, there is nothing external that I could want, because there is nothing external. And there is nothing I want to get rid of either, because there is nothing other than me, right? So knowing myself in this fullness, that's Ananda. And till such time that realization is complete, we can remind ourselves when external objects seem to make us happy, remember that it is only my own Atma Ananda which is getting reflected. And when external environment is not conducive, again, remember that I always have access to my own Atmananda and invoke that. It's realizing that happiness dependent on anything external is transient. The real happiness, Ananda, is unborn in nature. So an intelligent person drops all other pursuits for happiness and goes only after moksha. That's the next verse. So we're almost done. So let's finish it off, and then we can take any questions after 10:30 if there is.
I was just going to say that the latter is difficult when you don't have the conducive environment.
So practice when conducive environment is there. So that's gratitude, or remembering where that actual happiness is coming from, and then it'll become easier when the conducive environment is not there. And
Uh,
if you do only one, it'll be bypassing.
I think the attitude of gratitude always works when we are in that happiness state. And therefore, even if something adverse is happening to us at that time, we can go back to the original state of happiness which we experienced at the material time.
Mhm.
And we feel fullness of life. And
Absolutely.
we can say that this is a passing phase and it will also pass.
Mm, lovely. So let's continue. Um, Bandhamuktyati
Bandhamukyati
paramam sukam.
Paramam
paramam
sukham.
sukham.
Sorry, it's bandhamuktyati tam param sukam.
Bandhamukyati
Bandhamukyati
tam param
param
sukham.
sukham.
Vindyati haji
Vindyati
Vindati
haji
haji
vastu devikaha.
vastu
vasudevika.
devikaha.
So this is the limitless happiness, that is the self, is beyond bondage and liberation. The individual with divine qualities indeed attains it here and now. So how do they attain it? Through teaching, through knowledge. So when the idea of bondage goes away, the idea of liberation will also go away. This is an important understanding or definition of moksha. So another definition of moksha being given to us here, it is dropping the notion that I am bound. For sure, temporarily, it's useful that you think you're bound. So you go inquiring, you embark on this inquiry, and temporarily the teacher will also accept the idea that you are bound. But in the process of inquiry, you find that you are not bound. So if I'm already liberated, why should I seek? Because there is a desire. Just knowing that intellectually, at some outer level, knowing I am liberated is not removing your desire to be free from suffering, to be happy. That desire, then because of the desire, you seek. And that desire gets more and more refined, and you use more and more discernment, and you become clear what is it that you're seeking. You become clear that it's not some big position that I need to reach and then I'll be happy. It's not a certain size bungalow I need to build when I'll be happy, or it's not when I'm married or my kids are married or they have grandchildren, then I'll be happy. What I'm seeking itself is that unlimited happiness. So with more discernment, you become clear that what you're seeking, and and uh, and because that desire is still there, this desire for moksha will ultimately is only desire worth fueling, because it will be the desire which will burn away all other desires. And finally, enlightenment is going away of that notion also, that I need enlightenment, that I am bound. And this verse is telling us this liberation is not something which happens after death. It is not something you need to travel to a place called heaven for. Liberation happens right now, can happen right now in this very lifetime. You can be liberated while alive. And for that, you need to drop the notion that you are bound, that you need liberation. And of course, you don't need to fake it. It's something which will come in due course when the knowledge has done its job. And finally, 30th verse, aham petakam
Aham petakam
nija vibhagakam
nija
Nijavibanakam
mahad mahadiditam
mahadiditam
taporamanavagiyam.
Ramanavagiyam.
Destruction of the ahamkara as a result of inquiry leading to the shining of the self is indeed the greatest efforts. These are the words of Ramana. So destruction of the false ego happens through knowledge. And what is knowledge? Knowledge is claiming and abiding in the real self. And to be able to come to this knowledge and to be able to assimilate the knowledge, Ramana Maharishi in this text gave us all the preparatory practices. He started with Karma Yoga. We talked about how any limited actions can only produce limited results. So he showed us how to convert karma to Karma Yoga and use all your interactions in the world to purify the mind. He talked about the importance of bhakti and the various forms of bhakti and how the highest devotion is devotion to myself, and the various parts of the Ashtanga Yoga, the pranayama and dhyanam and so on. So all these, any other parts of yoga are but preparatory practices to purify the mind. And then we went through how self-inquiry is to be conducted in the last few verses. So this concludes the text, Upadesa Saram. And yeah, if there's any questions, we can take that. It was, of course, a prakarna kanta, which means it was a condensation of the whole teaching to give you an overview of what Vedanta is all about. And as you pursue more texts, each of these different aspects will become more and more clear. Any questions?
Spandana ji, so if pure consciousness is not something which can be seen, is not an object, it is not something which can be experienced, then is it something we believe in?
You heard the story of the 10th man?
No.
Or so the story of it's a popular fable. The story of the 10th man is these 10 brahmacharis are going on a pilgrimage crossing the forest and they come to a river. So they decide to hold hands and cross the river. And so they count. So, and after crossing, they said, okay, let's make sure we're all here. So they count. So the person counting goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 9.
Yes, yes, yes.
And he says, oh, but the 10th man is missing. And so they all take turns counting and they all say the 10th man is missing, right? So why? Because of ignorance, right? So the story goes, the passerby comes and they make him count. And what does that 10th man missing cause? It causes a lot of suffering. It causes them, all these painful emotions, fear of what they'll tell their teacher, and so on. And when the passerby comes and says, 10, you are the 10th. So what happened? Did did they gain something new? Did they gain the 10th man? Did they gain something they lost?
No, they just realized that what they were missing.
Yeah, I mean, not even what they were missing, that they were not missing anything at all.
I mean, from ignorance, what they were missing.
So what was removed was just the ignorance. So is it a false belief? What the passerby pointed out, what Shastra is pointing out, what Acharyas of the lineage are pointing out is there. They're pointing to what is already there. And once what is being pointed to is realized, then all the suffering will go away. So the passerby immediately, if he just said, no, the 10th man is right there, it didn't help those crying men. They were still upset. Right? But it's only when they realized it for themselves, then all the suffering went away.
Understood.
So it's very subtle, this realization. You can't fake it. So people study Vedanta for years and years, and always remember what you're seeking. Don't become a scholar of Vedanta. And this knowledge must truly be transforming you. And every stage, anything which is unclear, you come back, ask more questions, inquire and inquire. This is the only place where questions are highly encouraged. And there is no blind faith required for any of this. When Shastra asks for Shraddha, faith, it's only to the extent that if something doesn't make sense, even after a lot of questioning, it doesn't make sense, you hold faith that it might make sense down the line. You don't
Yeah.
question what the Shastra itself is saying. But you don't question the validity of what the Shastra is saying. Otherwise, it might not work for you as a pramanam, right? But any doubts about what it is saying, always welcome and most encouraged.
I
So
guess
these
this
were
was.
only 30 verses, isn't it?
Yes, that's 30 verses.
So we come to the end of this, or we'll continue, because I'm sorry, I joined a bit late. I have gone through your earlier
Yes, so
recorded versions.
we finished
So
this text now. So
Upadesa
let me
Saram.
just yeah. So let me
So
just
there'll be
conclude.
further discussions on that. That's what I was trying to know. Yeah.
No, we're done. So Upadesha Saram, the text is only 30 verses, which is done. But in the Prakarana Grantha, we'll keep announcing new courses. If you're new to Vedanta Amritam, there is a Tattva Poda
I have already
starting.
joined. Yeah, I have
Perfect.
already joined and gone through the entire, all the recordings of uh, uh, Medhaji.
Okay.
And I'm joining again from the 2nd August as a repetition of that course.
Beautiful. So then Tattva Poda and Bhagavad Gita and
Yeah,
Prakarana Granthas will keep coming. And that one group has sometimes we do introductory texts, sometimes we do more advanced texts, and we'll announce accordingly.
thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. So
Thank
let me
you.
do the closing prayers. And if there's any questions, we can stay back. Om
Om
Purnamada
Purnamadaha
Purnamidam
Purnamidam Purnam
Purnat
Purnamudachyate
Purnamudachyate Purnasya
Purnasya
Purnamadaya
Purnamadaya
Purnameva
Purnameva
Vashishyate Om
Om
Shanti
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 Hari Om
Hari
Shri
Om.
Krishna Arpanamastu Om Tat Sat. Thank you, everyone.